So you got a new EP, and I think I talked to you probably a couple years ago. We talked on the phone, so you may not recognize my face, but um,
Okay.
that's back before everybody was doing Zoom. I think it was like in the very beginning
Yeah.
of the shutdown or whatever.
Sure.
But we talked about you moving to a new record company
Yeah.
and your new release at that time. And so since then, I guess about a year ago, you released Build a Boat single, and then
That's
now
correct. Yeah.
the EP's coming out. And Build a Boat is honestly one of my favorite songs of the year. I mean, I just think it's
Oh man.
awesome and amazing.
Thank you.
Love it. I love it's a good pop song, but it's got even better message to it, you know?
I appreciate that.
Um, and yeah, it's kind of like reminds me a little bit of it, not in any way, shape, or form the melody or anything, but just like the Michael W. Smith song "Missing Person," which
Oh
is
yeah.
really, which is really upbeat and it's a really good song, but the lyrics just kind of, really penetrate you, and so
Yeah.
that's how I feel like this song is too. It's just really a faith stir.
Man, well, thank you. It's always kind of that it's always what we're after. It's like, man, how can we create the best song that we can, from an art perspective and production perspective, while still carrying the torch of like this message that we believe in, and even presenting it in a way, for those who have ears to hear, they're going to know what I'm singing and talking about. But maybe for people who don't, they still can take away something as well. So I'm so glad that you get that. It's awesome.
And I love that you know, you're really leaning into the pop, electronic, modern pop,
Yeah.
because I mean, honestly, that's what I grew up on. That's like my favorite style of music. So
Awesome.
your music is just good and catchy. It appeals to me and my daughters. So
Awesome.
that's a
Love
good
that.
thing.
Well, thank you.
So at what point did you just decide, we have enough material, we're going to do like an EP, we're going to remix or redo the song with Gabby,
Yeah.
and then we're going to put some other songs with it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always writing. I love the writing process, and man, I just feel like I'm living a lot of life right now. Being a new dad to twins, they'll be 3 in August.
Oh, no kidding! I have twins too.
Yeah. Oh, do you really? That's amazing.
Yeah, are they girls or boys?
Yeah, both of mine are girls. Identical.
Mine too. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
How old are yours?
They are 10 now, but
Oh man. So you're
do you have another?
you're out
Do
of
you
the
have any
woods, but you're
others?
about to go back in. No, just the 2 actually.
Okay, yeah, we had another one who was a year and a half older. So I mean, it was
Okay.
pandemonium at our house for a while.
Woo, man, no kidding. That's awesome, man. We'll have to compare notes at some point.
Yeah, everybody's got a twin story. You'll know
Oh,
that
dude,
when
no
you go
kidding.
if you go into a restaurant and you're carrying 2, you know, babies, you get stopped 2 or 3 times. It's almost like you're on display. Like, oh, my cousin had twins. Oh, my mom. Yeah, anyway, yeah,
Totally. Yeah. People
yeah,
trying to relate in some form or fashion, probably because they
yeah,
just feel they like, they feel for you. They're like, man,
right,
you're
yeah,
brave in a restaurant with 2 babies. It's amazing.
yeah.
But yeah, so I write a lot, and I'm constantly putting ideas down in my phone and notes or voice memos. And we released Build a Boat, and honestly at that point it was just like, man, this song has come to life, and we just feel like we need to release it even without a project around it, to see how it does and how it resonates and connects with people. And I'm so glad that it did that. It's my favorite moment every night. Just we're wrapping up the Build a Boat tour right now, and it's just amazing to see how people have connected with this song, whether they're currently walking through that dry season or they've made it out on the other side, and this was just their anthem during that season. It's just so cool. But that song really paved the way for this project. So we've had some songs that we've been sitting on, just didn't feel like it was the right time. But a little later in the game, I wrote a song called Canvas, and it just so eloquently summed up how I want my career to be, and not even just in music, but as a husband and a father. I'm just a blank canvas, and I want God to tell his story through me. And so we wrote this song, and it just really just paved the way, I think, for the rest of this project. So
And the other songs on the record, I'm trying to pull up the track list because, oh, The Devil Is
yeah.
Alive is one, right? Or is that on a
That
previous
one was
project?
actually on the that was the previous project.
Okay,
Still
okay.
playing it. But the newer songs on this project are My Light, which is our current single,
Yeah.
which honestly is just a simple reminder. It's like, man, no matter how dark it may seem in the world that we're living in, God's word is always that lamp, is always that light. And man, we had a lot of fun with this one. We take you to church
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
production side, and have a lot of fun with that. But I'm always pretty intentional with track listing and concepts, and this project was no different. We start with Build a Boat, track one, and it's about that dry season and having faith regardless of what it looks like. And then it takes you through this journey, and you end with this song called Unbreakable, minus the Gabby feature, of course. But Unbreakable is all about looking back on your life and the things that you've been through and realizing that you're still standing on the other side of it. So you're like, man, if those things aren't going to get me down, nothing will. Obviously by the power that is in us, which is Jesus. But yeah, man, really excited that this EP is finally out. We've been sitting on these songs for a while, and I feel like there's something for everyone, even on the music side. There's a little something for everyone. So
Oh yeah, yeah. I feel that way too. And it's catchy. Like I said, it has a message to it. When I talked to you last and your project was coming out on a new label,
yeah,
how did that do for the new label? I mean, what was their response to it as it
yeah,
played out? What happened? Was there new energy behind it? New promotion, whatever. I know sometimes it's like a whole new chapter when you do it.
yeah. It's very much felt that way. Just a complete, not even just a new chapter, but maybe even a new book. I love Atlantic, and they've partnered with Fair Trade to help on the more Christian side, so Christian radio and things like that. Um, but man, sometimes it's just good to get some new perspective on what you're doing, and not that my vision has changed any. My vision is still people, and passion is still people, but they've provided some new opportunities, being on a now a mainstream label versus just a solely Christian label. There are a lot more people outside the walls of the church than there are inside, and I have a heart for those people too. So it's like, how can we reach those people
Right.
with music that we believe in and believe in the message, but still are able to um, maybe relate to a bigger audience or reach a bigger audience. So that's provided a cool opportunity there. And man, it was really cool. What's funny is, even though I've been doing this for 10 or 11 years, I think to Atlantic, I'm still viewed as a developmental artist, right? They've got Ed Sheeran and Coldplay and, you name it, just huge
Right. Yeah.
accounts. So me and my little, Christian music career doesn't really move the needle for them. But I think that just kind of even more so speaks into, it's cool that they believe in what I'm doing. And I'm so thankful that they do. And they've given me the freedom to go create what we've been creating. They just kind of open the doors to potentially a new audience. So yeah, it's been really awesome. I'm really thankful I get to work with them.
I think you worked. I've seen you work really hard
Yeah.
and release a lot of things. So I feel like you're kind of, only because I'm so old do I remember, American Idol roots,
Hey,
and seeing you
same,
on
same,
American
brother,
Idol.
same.
But the average person, I think a lot of your hard work and your progress on the radio is kind of, if you ever had that label, you're probably almost beyond it at this point. When you say you're not billed as the American Idol singer
Yeah.
necessarily.
I some contestants hated that label and they wanted to distance themselves from it as far as they could. And that wasn't necessarily my view. I'm really thankful for that show. I mean, they put us in front of, I forget how many millions of people a week. It's like
Oh
25
yeah,
million people a week. You can't buy that kind of, publicity. It was just amazing. They taught me a lot. And so I have a lot to thank to them for that. But yeah, it's funny. Every night on the tour, I ask people, like, did anyone watch American Idols a decade ago? And you see some hands go up, you ask who voted, and you pick on the people who didn't. It's a lot of fun.
Right, yeah.
But there's still a few that remember, but you're right. It's like a lot of people have no idea I was on that show. And I think that's pretty cool.
I do too.
Even
Yeah.
as an artist, like amongst other artists, there can kind of be this thing like, oh man, like he got a fast pass going through the American Idol thing, and didn't have to pay his dues or whatever. And I feel like some of that came after the momentum kind of died down. It's like, all right, like we're gonna be out in a van and trailer this summer, and we're gonna do the thing. And we did that, and did that for 2-3 years, not that long ago. But it's cool that we're at a point now where people, whether it's just because of Build a Boat or Miracles or some of the newer songs, people are coming out for the first time. And we see like
Right.
90% of the audience are first time people at our shows. And
That's
it's like,
amazing.
wow. So we're giving them the same show that we've been given for a long time, but it's cool to have a new audience. And I hope we're just building new family that we can continue to do life with and pour into. So it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I think it's great. And one of the things I was thinking about, and I don't know if I talked to you about it because I've talked to uh, many contestants over the years, and even like Mark Burnett, I've talked to him
Yeah,
about it. Just the whole idea of uh, the competition, the wave of the competitions and the reality shows. To me, if anything, gave a chance for church singers to be, gave a little bit more equal footing. Let's say that. But
hmm,
I said before, reality shows, if somebody get popular in church or they're a good singer in church, then it feels like they would have to go through the club scene, or they would have
sure.
to go through, whatever to eventually make their way and get noticed. But this was a way to bypass that whole thing because not everybody's comfortable with going to the clubs,
Yeah, sure. That's actually a
and
really interesting point. Um,
it
yeah,
gave them a bridge. We can take people straight from the church and put them on the national platform instead of them going through the clubs and paying their dues that way. I mean, you're paying your dues in a different way, but you know what I'm saying.
sure.
I didn't mean that to sound negative. I think it's
No,
a great thing.
yeah,
And I talked to Mark Burnett about reality shows that, when I was growing up, you didn't see Christians on TV at all, hardly.
sure.
If they were the serial murderer of the week or whatever. You know.
Sure. They're all, yeah, normally painted in a bad light. Yeah,
Right.
sure.
But once you had reality, the reality is there are Christians in the world, you
Yeah,
know. And so when you're putting a competition together, you're putting Survivor together or Amazing Race, you're going to have Christians in the mix.
yeah.
And so I think that's been a very positive thing out of the whole reality craze. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think any human was designed to be, put put on a pedestal. So
right,
it can be difficult to navigate that. And no human is perfect. The biggest thing that bums me out about Christianity is that people see Jesus through the eyes of people, and we don't get it right often.
right,
So
right.
on a show like that, um, even when the opportunity comes to declare your faith or whatever, it comes with a big responsibility, because you're not just representing yourself, you're representing Jesus at that point. So it can be difficult, and I've seen it done really well. I've also not seen it done so well. And
Mhm.
so you try to navigate it the best you can. But it is very cool that shows like this give opportunities to people of all kinds of faith.
Right.
It's not a secluded thing. And I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, one season I'm watching a girl on Survivor praying and speaking in tongues. When's the last time you've seen that on
That's awesome,
CBS?
man. I love that.
She's
Yeah.
she's praying in
Not
the
very
tongue.
often. I love
Yeah.
that.
So I wrote an article about that.
That's
I
so
think it's
cool.
a cool phenomenon that's happened.
Yeah. Agreed.
Um, I was gonna ask you about Caleb. This is
Yeah.
Velvet was want to make sure I'm not posting this before Monday because I think Monday is when some of the information comes out. But
Okay.
you're gonna be performing at Caleb with Gabby, right?
That's right. Yeah. So excited. I think Gabby's amazing. I'm even just tickled to death that she agreed to sing on the track with me, let alone to perform it with me at K Love. I'm really, as a believer, I'm proud of her for the stance that she's taken, even in a non CCM market, in the country market. She wears her faith on her sleeve, and I think that's awesome. And she also just has pipes for days.
Yeah.
We got to do like a stripped back version of the song together at a country radio thing in Nashville. And man, it was just so cool. Like you just felt the presence of God even in the midst of this country radio thing. And
Right.
um,
Yeah.
she just carries that with her. It's really cool. So I'm honored that we're gonna do that at K Love. I think we're opening the show, which is exciting, also really nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad
Right.
to get it done and out of the way so we can relax the rest of the evening. But
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah.
be a lot of fun, man.
I, I bet you probably grew up on CCM, right?
I did,
You,
yeah, I
yeah.
sure did.
So now that you're in there, I mean, what do you what do you take from, when you're growing up, with you as you are an artist now? I mean, what are
Oh
things
man.
that you have kind of gleaned as you're following CCM, thinking, okay, there are fans out there that are listeners that are just like me, you know,
Yeah.
and how do I represent you mentioned that a minute ago, about
Yeah.
making mistakes or whatever, but um how does that inform you as an artist, the fact that you're now sitting where, you know where you used to watch somebody?
Yeah, when I was growing up, you get caught up in the glamour and the glitz of everything, and you think, oh man, like they're in a tour bus, or oh man, they're
Yeah.
whatever. They've got catering that follows them around, whatever. And the reality is, it's not that glamorous. So that was
Right.
struck
Yeah.
down pretty quickly. Um, but it kind of feeds into this mentality of like even now we're at a church in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and they're so sweet. They're you put out a rider and just things that you like that just makes your day a little easier. You've got some voice tea on there,
Right. Yeah.
you've got some coffee on there. We try and like, so we don't have the same type of food every day. We send out some
Yeah.
suggestions. So we had a taco bar today, very fitting, in Santa Fe, New Mexico. But they're so sweet. But you buy into this idea that they're here to serve us, and they do that. They're so good at that. But that goes with you on stage. So even just a few years ago, I had to realize, man, I am not here to be served, but I am here to serve.
Yeah.
God gave me these songs and has provided us with this amazing tour to serve people, to reach people in any way that God sees fit. And before I realized this, the way the crowd would respond to a show would affect me. I would be like, oh man, that bombed. Just the crowd didn't seem into it, and whatever. They weren't clapping along, or they, back in those days, they weren't rocking out with us or whatever. But I'm like, man, like if their style is to, grab a bucket of popcorn and sit the entire show, like it's my
Yeah.
job to still connect with that person.
Right.
And although they might not be my favorite type of show,
Right. Yeah.
still like God put me there for that person. And so I need to do the best I know how to reach that person and still give them the same show that I would if they were doing everything we asked them to do. So
Right.
I think that's the thing I've realized growing up, leaning more on the glitz and glamour side of things to now seeing the responsibility side. It's
Right.
quite opposite to how I thought.
Yeah. When I first started covering Christian music back in like '96,
Yeah.
it's a long time ago.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
Gospel Music Week was quite a bit different.
Yeah. GMA week in Nashville. Yeah,
We would
man.
have Sunday night worship. The
Yep.
Sunday night worship. I grew up Pentecostal, so when I
Okay.
would go to Sunday
You can
night
get
worship,
down.
it was uh, it was interesting because nobody stood up at that time.
Right. Yeah.
That's before kind of charismatic worship kind of took off,
Yep. Yep.
and nobody would raise their hand. Nobody stood up.
Yeah.
We sat. It was like sitting in my mom's old Baptist church.
Yep.
Everybody just watching the music. When you're
Yeah.
talking about somebody sitting there and kind of absorbing the music, it was very unusual to see people standing up at Gospel Music Week, even with these bands and
Yeah.
great music. And then through the years, it was funny to see how the change happened. And one of the
Yeah.
last GMAs, United was there, and everybody's just bouncing off the walls.
Yeah.
hands raised, so there was such a difference in how it all everything kind of changed.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure the the start or why um there's such a conservative nature when it comes to church, especially in southern regions. I grew up in a
Yeah.
church like that. It's very reserved. I don't know if it was out of reverence or what. But you would see those people be super reserved and almost shy and timid to do anything in worship. But then you'd see them at a football game. It's like,
Oh yeah,
hold
yeah,
on, wait a second. Why such the juxtaposition, and I
yeah,
still, like, I'll be honest, I still would pose that question, like, hey, if you're going to act one way at a football game or at a Taylor
right,
Swift concert, why can't we like get just as excited about what God is doing, even if the production's not, obviously I'm not comparing myself to Taylor Swift, but
right, yeah,
like, we've got a lot to be thankful for and a lot to get excited about. And I don't know, I know some people respond out of that differently, and it's a personal thing, I get it, but still part of you wonders, it's like, you can get that excited over a touchdown,
right,
maybe
yeah,
we should rethink this whole worship thing, but
yeah, yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen, and I'm going to let you go, but I don't know if you've ever seen that. When they're making The Greatest Showman,
Yeah,
uh, uh, there
great
was
movie.
like some test songs on YouTube. I don't know if you've seen that, but like the first time they performed "This Is Me," is it
Was
"This
it in
Is
front
Me"?
of Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, and he's sitting at a table,
Yes.
and then they all just kind of come alive and bounce off the walls. And this is
Yes.
a purely secular setting, but when I watch it, I'm like, that's worship. Just
Yes.
getting involved in something. They're not
Yes.
worshiping God, but
Yep.
they're not necessarily. Maybe somebody is. Maybe that's how they're interpreting it.
Yeah.
But it is so, to me, it's so inspiring to watch because you're like,
Yep.
this is how we can get excited. I mean,
Yep.
they're excited because they're on the verge of a movie being made, and this song is about the triumph of their own humanness or being accepted or whatever.
Sure.
But how much more, excitement should we have? That should
Completely
translate.
agree.
We should never. I almost want to show that to like people and say, listen, this is how excited you should get. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
completely
hard
agree.
to it's
I
hard
could
to
talk
kind of
about this for a
browbeat them.
long time.
Yeah,
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 man, I
me too. Yeah.
completely agree. That's
Well,
awesome.
God bless you, and
And
it's
thank
so
you.
exciting for your twins. You said 3 years old.
Yeah, there'll be 3 this
Yeah.
August. Yeah,
And
man.
when I had my twins, I had to go to a sports doctor about this hand right here. And
Yeah.
we could not figure out what was wrong. And what I realized later, it was just constant. No, it was this hand. It was just constantly holding a kid up.
Oh, man.
And it was
Wow.
wearing out. It was giving me some kind of like almost carpal tunnel. And
Wow.
and as soon as the girls got old enough to walk, and I didn't hold it, I didn't realize it until it was all gone. But then later I was like, that's what
Wow.
happened. So if you have any
Wow.
problems like that, then that may explain
Good to know, man. That's
it.
awesome. That's quite beautiful, actually. I love that.
Yeah, it is. It is. It was a pain, but it was a good pain.
Sure. Man, well, that's awesome. Man, thank you again for spending some time and for good conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and enjoy Santa Fe. I was just there last year.
Oh, nice.
Julia Roberts lives there. In case you get
Oh,
out, you
really?
can
I didn't
look
know
for
that.
her. And
Maybe she's
a
coming to
few
the
other
show
people,
tonight.
a few other people live there. But downtown, there's a nice little. We ate at some little Mexican restaurant down
Okay, we just got back from Sky Coffee downtown, like a really cool hipster part of town.
Oh yeah,
It
all
was
that
wonderful.
whole thing. And then there's
Yeah.
a museum there called Meow Wolf. I don't know if you've heard of
Oh,
that,
yeah,
but
we saw it. We passed it.
yeah. My wife went there, and
Oh,
it's
cool.
pretty kind of modern art, stuff. So
Very cool. It's awesome.
have a
Yeah,
great time.
I don't know that we're gonna have a ton of time to explore. I think we're
Right? Yeah.
got to drive tonight. We've got an off day in Oklahoma City tomorrow.
Okay.
We're loving what we've seen. So maybe we'll get back out and
It is kind of a hipster kind of
yeah,
area. It's kind of a
exactly.
little old money. It looks like too, or
Yeah, for sure.
like some deep pockets there too.
I know we need to go find some turquoise jewelry is what we need to go find. There's a
Yeah.
plethora of it. So
Yeah. Well, God
awesome.
bless you. Have
Hey,
a
you
great
too,
day.
man. All right, you too, buddy.
When
See
you
ya.
come to Orlando, I'll